right, everybody. Welcome back to the Unlocked podcast with Brittany. That's me, your host. I am delighted that you have joined us either on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're at listening to us. I am so excited. This podcast has really kind of blown me out of the water, and I just wanted to say thank you all for your support. And honestly, it's a God thing. It's not me, and I can't do anything with it. This was like literally a God thing. So it's been so cool. Everybody who shared their testimony thus far, the impact. I get messages and text messages and all the things all the time. And so grateful for all of you. I want to remind you, as always, that you matter. Your story matters. There's only one of you. God made you perfectly, wonderfully made, and you have a story to share that will encourage other people to look at God in a new way, and maybe even accept him. So it's really cool. Today on the podcast, we have Rashawn. Hello, my girl.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey. We were just talking before the podcast, and we were talking about, she's like, I can't believe I'm even doing this. And I'm like, I can. I'm so excited. Literally so stoked. And I told so many people that they're like, what? She's going to be on the podcast? I can't believe it. So no pressure, but everybody's going to be
now. All the pressure.
Everybody's going to be looking out for this podcast. They were so excited. Yeah. What made you say yes to come on to the podcast?
That's a great question. I think I'm just in a season where I'm growing and God is growing in me, and I'm just wanting to be more vulnerable. And also just nudges from friends who are like, you have a story to tell, you have things to share, like people can like learn from you and be encouraged. So I'm here to encourage, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm excited. What in this season made you like want to be like more vulnerable? What was it like God saying like, hey, I need you to like share your story, or hey, I need you to express yourself more, or like, hey, you're too closed off, or like, what is that for you?
Man, so should I just jump right into the deepness of it all, or
I guess
just like more recent? So I'll start to more recent and then kind of go back to the fall.
Okay.
So more recently, I've gotten like opportunities through my business, which I'll share more about later, to do press opportunities and things of that sort. And it's something that like I did not sign up for when I initially started a business, but it's something that God has graced me with. So I'm just kind of leaning into it. And I think to combat that, I've just been wanting to seek more opportunities to talk about God and share my story, because business is great. You need the promotion, you need the press, but it's like, this is what excites me, being around and engaging with other believers. And so to counter that, I'm like hoping to just have more of these spaces to counteract some of the other spaces that, prioritize my company. But in general, last fall, I really was just hoping to hear from the Lord, specifically just about what's next for me, like personally, professionally, business-wise. And I just was in this kind of apathetic space. Like I was losing like my fire, for God and the mission. And I actually remember attending a women's event and just asking God, like, can you please just show me yourself? And I was like, I don't want anything bad to happen or like to have to suffer, but I know that I bear the most fruit in my suffering. And so 2 weeks after that,
say that again say that again
I just was praying out to him and asking him to just come down to me. And I just was like, I don't want to go through anything bad or suffer, but I know that's when I bear the most fruit, right?
That's true.
And 2 weeks later, I had an ankle fracture where I broke my ankle in 3 places. I had a trimalleolar fracture, and so I was immobile for like 3 months. I couldn't walk or drive. And
you're like, Lord, I prayed for this.
I was like, I know I prayed for this, but what I will say is that injury, I really feel like God met me in that moment, and I just really grew in my faith in that season and really learned what it means to just trust God and not let fear be the leader of my life, and really be reminded that like he's graced me to do hard things. And so going into 2024, it was like, if I can overcome an ankle fracture where I broke my ankle in 3 places, I have plates and screws. I'm in my mid-30s and I've never broken a bone, never seen an ER. And so to have that be my first experience, it was life-changing physically, but also more than anything spiritually. And so I went into 2024 like, I'm not going to be in a cycle of apathy. I'm not going to be in a cycle of fear, getting in my own way, and not just being bold in my faith and talking about God and
so good.
Doing the things.
Do you feel like in that moment, like you were going like 90-0 again, and God was like, hey, no, slow down and spend some time with me in those moments as well?
Do you mean like during the injury
during
or like
the injury?
For sure, he slowed me down completely.
I mean, you couldn't walk.
I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything but watch TV, eat, and like read my Bible.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do anything,
Oh,
and so he definitely slowed me down. I was actually set to travel. I want to say a week later, maybe after that, and so that of course was canceled, and so I spent a lot of time just in reflection, but also was able to see my community show up for me, and people love on me, and me not being the friend that's running and doing everything for everyone. People got to serve and show up for me, which was also beautiful too.
I love it. The Lord, he works, he literally turns everything for the good.
Yeah.
Like things that we think are supposed to harm us, right? He'll turn around, and that's biblical stuff.
Yeah.
I just love it so much. And then I want to go back to the bearing of fruit. I know Paul writes so much in the word. It's like, persevere through this, and I will produce goodness in your life, you know? And it's just true. Like, if you really push through with the Lord in these hard times, like, you'll come out on the other side just like shining. Yeah. And like the fruit that you bear is just like so ripe, so good. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay. So you were talking a lot about this business that you have.
Yeah.
That's how I know you. I used don't judge me, but I used to be like, the flower girl, the flower girl, the tall flower girl. And everybody's like, Rashawn? And I'm like, yes, that's her. So tell us a little bit about that and how you got into it.
Yeah, so I own a floral business, Bloom Bow Co. I launched the company in 2020 during the pandemic.
Talk about a slowdown.
Listen, I had a lot more extra time on my hands during that time. And I just felt moved to just find a way to connect and reach out and be with friends. And so I designed a floral arrangement for a friend for her birthday, and I left it on her doorstep, and she absolutely loved it. Yeah. And after that, another friend just asked me to make the same thing and literally sent me Cash App and was like, do the same thing over. Bought too many flowers, and my best friend was like, just put your bouquets online. They all sold out in 15 minutes, and someone was like, when's going to be your next drop? And I was like, I guess I'm starting a floral company. And so from there,
that is so wild.
I started getting into floral design. So that was between May, I made my first one. In August, I launched my company. So
it's just so cool how the Lord really were you passionate? You're creative, you're passionate about that. And I mean, that's something that I ask everybody that comes on the podcast. I ask them 2 questions, and one of the questions is what's the passion inside of you? Because one time, that's literally what, I mean, God changed my life, Jesus changed my life, but somebody sat down and was like, Britt, if you ever talked to me, I mean, I was way worse than I am now, but I was a dreamer. Okay. I grew up in in a small town in Texas, went to the same White House ISC my whole life, elementary through high school. I grew up in the same house. I went to the same church. Everything was pretty consistent for me throughout my whole entire life. And once I graduated, I just from college, I was I just want something so different. And the Lord just continued to put these things in me. And so I was just crazy all over the place. I mean, literally crazy. And somebody was like, Britt, you need to sit down with the Lord and write down what your passions are. And they're and not just, I have a passion to serve the Lord. Yeah. Okay, that's wonderful. But what are those things? Yeah. And I started writing down cottage in the mountains and a river. I love women's ministry. Yeah. I love culture. I want to travel the world. I want to see the all these things. And I'm and all this started adding up. So for you at that time, you would have probably wrote down, I love creative. I love flowers. I love bouquets and stuff like that. It's these little things in your heart that the Lord plants there. Yeah. That just sprouts and becomes this, you're literally thriving right now. Yeah. In it. I mean, it's taken you so many places. Yeah. I mean, I definitely would say dreamer, creative for sure, but flowers was never in the plans ever. Gosh, so I always tell people this is God's business because I never desired to be a floral designer. I've always loved hospitality. I've always loved events and curating experiences for people, and serving people. And I've always had an eye for design and style and putting things together. But
floral design has just become a new vessel of that. And it's just crazy because 4 years prior, I actually did do like my first wedding where it was like, I helped with the arrangements, very DIY, but so full circle, it's like funny that like I'm in this industry now because
Unbelievable.
4 years before I would have never said that this is where my path would go. So,
and I think that just goes to show like everybody that's listening, it's like what you do now matters.
Yeah.
Steward what you have now, because in 4 years from now, that little bouquet that you're helping, just like loving on people, just showing up to do, could turn into your own company.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so true. Like, I didn't steward college well at all.
I mean, who really did?
I really wish I would have. I tell my friends all the time, I went to a Bible school.
Yeah.
And I know ministry. Like, I mean, we don't really know each other. So I don't know if, like, you know, but like, I was not ministry at all. I was so far beyond that. Like, I loved Jesus, but I was a hoodlum. And I just did my own thing, whatever. And I went to Bible college. Like, I could have went to an Arkansas school. I could have went to these bigger schools. But, I went to this, like, little Bible school. And I was like, in 2007, it's like the Lord knew what he was doing all the way back then. And here we are. And I was, in 2018, I went, like, full-time ministry. But, like, he knew what he was doing from 2007, you know? And I didn't steward that season well. Now I wish I could get back the $100,000 that I paid to that school to, I mean, I don't know how much it was. It was a lot of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But, like, can I just sit in your class and just, like, listen to the New Testament and just, like, learn more about the Bible? I mean, I have an undergrad in biblical studies, and I oh gosh, I just wish I could go back. But steward the things well. Steward the things well.
It's okay. I was a criminal justice major, and my first job out of college, I was a private investigator.
Stop.
Yeah.
Wait, tell me a story.
That lasted all of 3 months.
I'm reading a book right now that has like this like private, like I usually am like a romance, like rom-com type of thing, but this is like a very instilled like investigative, and I'm like, I think I like this a lot. She was like a Russian spy and stuff. Okay, do you have any stories?
Yeah, so
okay, wait.
I have a lot of stories, but I will keep it PG.
Okay.
I was a private investigator for insurance fraud. So people who would say like, "Oh, I got injured on the job, I can't work," and so it was this one time I had to record this woman, and so I'm outside of her house, and just kind of seeing like if she's coming in and out, trying to get footage of her.
Wait. So you're like pulled over on the side of the road, slouched down in your chair.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. The whole jig. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
No, this is my dream. I think I was made for that. Honestly,
no, you're not. I'm gonna save the horror stories because I want to encourage people. But
I mean, I think I'd be so. I love people watching. Like, I'm obsessed with it.
Not when they find out you're watching them.
Oh no. Oh. Okay, here we go. I'm buckled in.
So this particular woman, she comes out. And I'm like recording her, and then she decides that she's going to go run with her dog in the field. And I'm recording her running across the field, fully fine, nothing wrong with her, fully mobile, fully able.
She's supposed to like have what, a broken leg, or
and just supposed to be like out of commission, like can't work, can't do anything. Yeah. So those were kind of the things that I saw regularly. I probably would say out of all the cases, there was no one who was not like actually injured. Yeah, like everyone was injured.
Wait.
I mean, no, everyone
was not injured, and they were supposed to be injured.
Yeah.
According to what they say in their paperwork.
Yeah.
Wait, I did not even know this existed.
It existed. So be honest. Tell the truth.
Yeah, because people are hiding their cars across the street.
Watching.
Like their window cracked down so the air goes through, and their car has to be turned off because you can't hear the car, you know? I know how to do this.
Yeah, you would be great. You would be great at it. A lot of retired policemen actually do that job. Wow. That's who's in the industry. Our retired police officers, they are private investigators.
So I was saying the Lord put you in places and spaces. So how are you utilizing this in your
How am I utilizing? I think it might have increased my discernment. Maybe that's it.
Hey.
Yeah, more discerning of people and opportunities. Yeah.
And it just really catches you on how many people are just out there just really working the system, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is wild.
Such a random story, but add a little razzle dazzle to the conversation.
We love it. I mean, this is what I'm here for. I really am here for this. I'm gonna go like look up all the opportunities, how much they make, all the things. Like I think I could do that as a side gig, maybe. It's so good.
Maybe. It's a flexible schedule.
Oh, gosh. I'm so into that. That's so good. Okay. All right. Back to it. Okay. So were you raised in the church as a believer?
Yes, I was raised in a church. Yeah.
Okay. Mom and dad in the picture, the whole...
Just mom.
Okay.
Yeah. So raised in a Baptist church here in Philly. I got saved, I want to say at 8. I gave my life to Christ and got baptized.
Like, you remember that moment?
Yes, I remember that moment.
It's so cool.
And had my first encounter with Holy Spirit a little while after that. So.
Oh my gosh, what was it? What did that look like for you? So you're saying that you got saved, because a lot of people on here that are listening, I've learned, are like new believers that are just trying to like increase their faith, which that's what we're all about. So so you got saved. You said, Jesus, come to my heart. You got baptized, and then you had an encounter with Holy Spirit that really ignited you. What did that look like for you?
I think for me at that time, let me backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
So I was always like just the serious kid, the mature kid, you know, the grandma, the mom of the group. And so
the responsible one.
Yeah, I've always had like just a heart for people, a heart for what's right, a heart for justice. Never really knew what to do with that. But my first encounter with the Holy Spirit, I was at a service and the preacher was just preaching, and I could just feel something well in me, like that I felt God speaking to me, that like this is the path that I'm on, this is the path that I should be walking, and like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you just felt like were you like reaching out for that? You just felt like God just
I think it just hit me like a ton of bricks. You know, when you're young and, you know, you're adolescent, you're not really too, like, you're serious. Even though I was serious, it was like, you're not thinking too deeply about the connections within the world and bigger picture, bigger purpose. But at that time, I think it was just like confirmation, like all the moments that I feel moved to maybe care for someone in a certain way or encourage someone or help someone, that was really God and not me.
Yeah, I love that. You have siblings?
Yeah, so I have a brother and a sister, older brother and older sister, but I grew up as an only child. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they so much older than you? Is that why?
Yeah, so my brother is probably about, I am going to be probably about 3 years older than me. And my sister, I believe, is 7 years older than me.
Okay. And they just weren't in the house with you?
Yeah. So I just grew up with my mom there through my father. Okay. And so I started to develop a relationship with my brother at 18. Yep.
Stop.
Yeah, at 18, I mean, we've always were familiar with each other, but at 18, he actually came to my house on the day before my graduation and just came and we just chatted for hours, and he's been a part of my life intimately since then.
You didn't really have contact with him before
that?
Yeah,
not regularly, yeah.
What was why? Just all of a sudden?
I don't know. I just think during that time, you know, we didn't have social media or like really active technology live. So
people
it was
don't
just
really
like,
know what that was like.
Yeah, so he showed up to my house. Obviously, it wasn't a phone call. And then like we just remained close. I think he probably reached the age where he wanted to intentionally steward our relationship, and I was open. And so, at 18,
cool. And your mom is a believer too?
Yeah, she is a believer. Yes.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
So your whole life, you feel like, where was a moment in your life as an adulthood? Do you feel like you ever like slipped away from the Lord? Or you feel like it was a harder time in your life where there's like 3 or 4 years, or?
Oh, for sure. I would say college. College is when I think my relationship with God shifted, because I was just kind of consumed with being in school, friends, activities, and really wasn't prioritizing my relationship with Him. It was like I'm just doing what I feel like doing and what feels good. And so from, I would say, 19 to probably 22, it was just like my wilderness years, where I was just kind of doing my thing, following the vibes.
Do you feel like, as like, I think about this a lot, I always say like, oh, I wasn't saved because I was a hoodlum. Do you think that like what's your perspective on this? Like, okay, I remember when I gave my life to Jesus when I was younger too, like you. And then as I got older, like in college years, I did my own thing and whatever felt good, right? Wilderness years. And then that's when after I was like, got to my lowest, and I remember laying in bed and being like, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
And there has to be. And the Lord met me in my room, was like, yes, it's time for you to go make fishers of men. And I just felt like I had this new maturity in Christ. Like, at the time I couldn't say maturity. I said, oh, I gave my life to Jesus. Like I told the Lord, you can be the Lord of my life. Whatever you want from me, you can have it. And like, do you feel like it's a maturity? Do you feel like it's like, oh, you actually gave your life to the Lord and before that it wasn't? Or like, and maybe it's different case by case, but what is your perspective on that?
I think that it's maturity. I feel like in life, you know, once you give your life to Christ, you know, it's just an ongoing pursuit of you strengthening that relationship. And I think, you know, just like it comes to school. You know, in kindergarten, you're going to be a little bit more mature when you get to 5th grade, and then it's going to change when you get to 8th, and then when you get to high school. And I think our relationship with Christ is a lot like that too. There's stages and there's phases, and he'll use our life experiences to strengthen that. And it's just up to us to desire that.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
It's true. Maturity is. And I feel like when I came back to the Lord, I started reading the Bible different. I think things just popped out to me differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Okay, so as you were raised in Philly, you went to high school in Philly, you went to college in Philly?
I went to college in Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Okay. What college did you go to there?
Westchester, University of Pennsylvania.
I think that's where my best friend went to school.
Possibly. Yeah. It's a really popular state
She's
school.
sitting behind the camera and she's saying, yes, that's where she went to
school.
school.
It is. We're talking, okay.
I'm talking about her.
Talking about Alexis.
I was like, we're at Westchester. Yeah, I think it's like literally rolling in my...
And I'm like,
did you guys know each other?
No.
Oh.
But also, fun fact, our birthdays are a day apart, so.
What?
Yeah, that's my girl.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. It's so cool. Okay, so then when did you find community in Philly? Do you feel like that impacted you more, or like how did that not impact you? Or have you always had believers around you like your whole life? You know what I mean? Like for me, community is everything. And like, I mean, feedback, hard conversations. Yeah. I mean, I've had so many hard conversations this week, and I mean, but I'm growing from them, and it makes me better. Yeah. You know? And you can have a community, and then you can like have a community. Yeah. So like for you, when was that, or like when did that happen, or?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I think I've always had like great friendships, a great tribe with me throughout my childhood. I think growing up as the only child, that's one thing that God blessed me with. It's just community through every phase.
Honestly, like, that's so cool.
It's such a blessing.
It really is.
So I never feel lacking in that department. But when it comes to believers, I think that as I got older, that community of people in the faith grew, like more so in college and thereafter is when I started to develop it. And then shifting and transitioning and coming to the Black church, that's when I really started understanding like the significance. Like this isn't just a good idea, like it's necessary.
Yeah. So. I know, and it's like going back to whenever you were talking about your injury and like your community just come around you and like uplifting you. Yeah. There's so many times in my life where it's like, I don't know if I would have made it if I didn't have them.
No, for
like
sure.
Speaking truth and those things into my life.
Yeah, and just reminding you of who God is.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything right now that the Lord's like, I mean, besides like being vulnerable and all those things, is there anything the Lord's speaking to you recently where you're like, oh, I've got to imply this, or it's like, oh, wow, that like something you're reading, or
yeah, that's a great question. So right now I'm actually reading Fervent by Priscilla Shirer. It's a book on strategic prayer.
Yes.
The start of this year, I've just felt like convicted and just challenged to increase my prayer life. I feel like it's not much that I really want for, or let me rephrase that. There are a lot of things that I want, but there's not a lot that I'm just like in dire need of. And so God is like, but you should be praying. And so I'm feeling like a call to pray for friends, pray for family that are navigating some challenging diagnoses, and actually praying for this city. I'm really grieved by a lot of the violence, a lot of young people being murdered, and I just feel moved to just pray. That's just where I am.
That's literally what the Lord's been convicting me about. I wouldn't say talking about, convicting me about. There's 3 things in community and then in prayer. And prayer is like, okay, I'm confessing something. I'm like confessing something on my podcast. Yeah. I am not good at prayer. Okay, when I say I'm not good, I don't mean like I don't pray good prayers, or it's not like I can't say the words. It's like I'm just not.
Like the discipline of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me. And I've gotten to where I like put 10 minutes on and like just turn, and that's my prayer. Throughout the day now, I will talk to the Lord and I will say things, and I will talk to him, but like sitting that 10 minutes, it's horrible. And the Lord's been convicting me about it because prayer moves. Prayers, and I was talking to somebody the other day too, and it's like generational. It impacts generations. So like your parents were praying for you and now you're here, and that's because your parents were praying for you when you were a baby and at such a young age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's not just an impact of that hour or the next day or the next week. It's a generational impact.
Yeah.
And the Lord's like, what generation are you impacting through your prayers?
Yeah, that's good.
I was like, okay. So I've been setting a little 10 minutes, and now I'm going to work my way up, and just set it aside. Like, there are people like, Grace, Pastor Grace. She is just like her and Mickey. I mean, I lived with them for so long. They are just prayer warriors. And I could feel when they were praying in the rooms, like the house just you can really. So I just want to bring that back in my life because it really changes. And we've been having these prayer meetings on Thursday nights. And you walk into the room, and it is a shift.
Yeah, and the atmosphere, for sure.
Yeah, I go into that room, that same room, just on a normal day, fine. Go into that prayer, you literally feel something different. It's crazy.
It's insane. And I feel like in this season of reading this book and just strengthening my prayer life, I'm being reminded that essentially prayer is our spiritual armor. We're really at war. I don't think people realize, not in the physical, in the spiritual realm. And so, a lot of the things that we think, oh, that's just the way I am, or that's just what this person is, or maybe negative thoughts you have, or cycles you find yourself in, that is a spiritual battle that you need to only respond to in prayer. And my therapist, she's a real OG. You go and you vent and you share, and you're like, this is what's going on, and this is what I'm navigating. And she said something that has changed my life. How is it shaping your prayer life? We're not going to just sit here and just dump. How are these things shaping your prayer life? And so that's been a challenge for myself. It's just
so good.
Are you going into prayer before you feeling salty about it?
It's so good. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I want to go back to we don't fight against flesh and blood.
Yeah.
We fight in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And that was about 5 years ago when oh my gosh, it's been much longer than that. I can't believe I've almost been in Philly for 4 years, which is just wild to me.
Amazing.
I know, it's so cool. I love it here. But I guess this is in 2017, 2016, but that's when it really hit me that. Yeah. And for some reason, the Lord just gave me this, that's this I don't know why, spiritual realm in this cloud. Mm-hmm. And everybody, he just for me, it's I look at everybody and everybody has a cloud, and they're all and their spirits, they're fighting. There's only two. There's two types of spirit. There's an evil, and then there's the heavenly spirit, and Holy Spirit, and God, and Jesus, and they're fighting. They're going at it, and I think that people really need to know that. And it can be very exhausting, especially when you're battling thoughts of your own, battle thoughts of maybe depression or anxiety, or even a thought process of hey, I don't want to talk bad about people. I don't want to gossip anymore. Sometimes that's hard for people. Yeah, it's it is spiritual. It is such a spiritual thing, and being able to transfer and I pray this all the time over people and over myself, Lord, renew my mind, renew my spirit. I literally lay hands on renew my mind, renew my spirit. Get it together right now, Lord. Help me, It's so good. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yeah, prayer. Is there anything in the book that you can verbalize to us that's maybe that kind of have stuck out to you yet? I know this is maybe catching. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to do this if I were I'm not good at this at all.
It's totally fine. Yeah. We're so early in the book.
Okay.
We're about 3 weeks in, so I would say she really talks about the significance of writing your prayers and how writing your prayers remind you of who the real enemy is, remind you of who's fighting for you, which is God, obviously, and then remind you at certain points of when God has moved in your life so that you can recall back. And so that's something that has really stuck out to me, because sometimes I feel similar to you that I'm not the strongest prayer, but it's writing them is just as significant. Yeah. Internal prayers are just as significant.
It's good. Yeah. That's really good. I do find when I write out prayers, or even I hate writing. I have a journal and I write in it almost every day, but I'm a bullet journaler, where I just and when people will say bullet, oh my gosh, I do that too. And they get it out and it's this beautiful thing with all these pictures and stuff. I'm like, no, girl, that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm talking about putting a dot and writing two little things out to the side of it. And that's how I do my prayers too, because of whatever. But yeah, that's really good. Yeah. That's really good. I wanted to go back to something. Way back, probably about 10 minutes back.
Yeah, let's do it.
But maybe longer than that. But when you transitioned from being a private investigator to, was that right before COVID? And so then that kind of shut down and then it was a florist? Or like, how did you decipher hey, I'm going to like quit that and go to like.
Oh, girl. I'm a little old lady. That was like 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago.
Was there a point in your life where you had to be like, Lord, what is this? And I have to quit my other jobs or what I was doing or my side hustles to just go straight to this?
Yeah. So following that, I decided to take a different route, just to give you a little background on my career journey, to go into the more of the nonprofit sector. And so I worked in education, from 2015 on to currently. So I actually still work full time, but I work in education.
Okay.
Yeah. And so navigating
I knew that because
business and education is a whirlwind, but God has been really gracious in finding ways for them to intersect.
It's really good. I love that. Okay. I'm going to ask my questions to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Passion in your heart right now. Is there something the Lord's like given you? I mean, I think you kind of answered it with like the prayer and the city and that's what the Lord's been like stirring inside of you right now?
Yeah, that's what he's been stirring inside of me. Prayer and just also evangelism, which I hate to even say out loud because I'm an introvert, if you didn't already know. So,
so
the idea of like evangelizing is just so intimidating, but I feel like, again, God has just been gracious in just helping me to understand that we just got to be obedient, you know? That's just all that it requires. It doesn't necessarily require you to stand on a corner, but, you know.
So good.
Yeah.
When you said stand on the corner, it reminded me of the Black Israelites that are here in Philly.
They're intense.
Never in my life have I ever seen anything like that. And nobody else knows what that is except for people who live in Philly.
Well, it's actually popular in a lot of other communities.
Really?
Yeah.
I pulled over the other day and I was your private investigator on the side of the road. I literally rolled down my window and then they started yelling at me and all the things and it was a hot mess.
We need to be bold like that.
I know.
Praying over this city.
But I feel like this is your first step, like stuff that you shared here. That really is my goal for people who sit in the chair.
Yeah.
The guests that come on, it's like, oh, I feel empowered and I felt comfortable and I just like, okay, this is a part of my testimony that like I can share.
Yeah.
So I really hope that after you leave here tonight, it's like, you feel more empowered to like share. At least you spoke out not maybe all of your testimony, obviously. I mean, this is 30, 45 minutes, but like a lot of it where you feel like you can share a little bit of it.
For sure.
It's powerful. It's important.
Yeah. It can
it's
set
so
somebody
powerful.
free. It's your witness. Your testimony is your witness. So
yeah. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony.
You better bring the word.
It's so good.
Listen.
It's so good. Okay, and then the second question I want to ask you is, this is not very spiritual, but
boy. I think I know what it's about, but go ahead.
Do you have a life hack?
A life hack?
Yeah.
That's so good. Like, give me a thing. What do you need a hack
so
for?
usually I bring a life hack, but today I wasn't bringing a life hack. So I was going to talk to you about something else. I was going to share something else that's bothering me. A life hack.
Like a scenario, or I don't know.
What's a life hack that I have right now? Man, I'm really thinking.
I'm thinking too. I know I have something.
One I shared last week or on another podcast was the gas tank and the little like arrow on your gas tank. You know, it tells you which side the gas tank's on.
Oh,
exactly. Life hack. I know. In your car, there's an arrow right beside it, and if it's pointing to the left, your gas tank's on the left. If it's pointing to the right, gas tank's on the right.
Wow, I don't know if I have anything as interesting as that. Let me think.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have a life hack.
I can't wait.
If you ever get oil in your clothes, put a little baby powder in it, and it'll soak up the oil, and you can wear the shirt or the item the same day.
So wait, like pasta, like when you're like oil on pasta or something, and you
so
just like splash
olive oil or like facial oil, hair oil, whatever kind of oil. Slurp the spaghetti and
baby powder.
Yep, and it'll soak it up. Just let it set.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, that's great. Oh, I have a life hack that I just thought of when you said that. If you ever get deodorant, like I got deodorant on the shirt earlier, putting it on, you just rub the deodorant together.
Oh.
Like deodorant on deodorant cancels it out. You can't see it. So you don't have to get like a wet washcloth or anything.
Wow.
You're welcome.
I'm learning all the things today.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Okay. Alexis is behind the camera cracking up right now. It's so funny. Okay. Okay, one thing that I have to share on this podcast.
Okay, share.
I've literally been keeping this because I actually should share it on the next one. So I'll have something to share, but I'm sure I can come up with something. Okay. How crazy is it? When you turn on your windshield, okay, you're going down the freeway.
Yeah.
Okay? and you turn on your windshield wipers.
Yeah.
Because, the sun's hitting it and
Yeah.
you need to clean it from, so you turn on the windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah.
Starts going. Look behind you. Guess what the car behind you is doing?
The same thing?
The same thing, turning on their windshield wiper fluid.
Wow.
Because, when you're going down the road and somebody in front of you, how annoying is that? When you're going down the road and then that gets on your car,
Wow,
on your
I never
windshield.
noticed.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to try it out.
But-
Tomorrow, I'm just going
but
to cut my wipers on.
But then it's like, how far does it go?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
You have the wheel spinning today.
It's actually pretty annoying when somebody in front of me, I'm like, I just washed my car and you're turning on your windshield wiper fluid and now it's getting on my car. And then it's like the car behind it. It's really something. It really is something. Oh, well, you really didn't know what you're getting yourself into getting on this podcast.
But this was fun.
It's fun.
You're great.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just so chill and relaxed.
Yeah.
And anything else that you want to share? Like, it can be anything, obviously. We went from, for real though, anything else that you'd like to share with people? Like,
Yeah.
I have a lot of new believers on here. So is there
Okay.
something that you'd like to share? Like,
Yeah, I just was actually talking to a friend about this on my way here,
Okay.
and just trying to think through of like what I wanted to share and cover, because testimonies, they just extend so far. And I was telling
Yeah.
her just one thing that I learned from my life is, if you want to know God, like, seek him. If
Yeah.
you want to understand God, seek him. And if you want to hear God, seek him. And I think that's just what I have for people. If you
it's
want to,
good. What are some ways like people can seek God?
yeah, seek God through obviously prayer for one, but I think too his word. I think his word gives a lot of like direction. It gives encouragement, but it gives a lot of direction.
It's true.
And it helps you understand his voice.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. If there was somewhere in the Bible that somebody should start to try to like hear God's voice or try to understand it or just to start reading, is there a specific spot in the Bible that you said that you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So when I went through my little journey or moment of just like being far from God and like coming back to him, I think understanding the character of God and who God is, I think pursuing the Gospels, reading the Gospels, starting Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, starting there to really understand
It's good.
the character
The
of
story.
God is so important, because that'll help everything else make sense when you know God's heart.
Yeah. We're really going around the circle today. What brought you back to the Lord? Like after being like what?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
A terrible relationship.
Stop.
A terrible relationship where I realized I was putting a lot of faith in man, and like I was like, this is not it. And so that's what really brought me back to God. And it was like, I can't count on nobody but the Lord. And so that's what brought me back. Yeah.
During the relationship or after, where you were so heartbroken, you were like, I need the Lord?
That's a good question. I think it was like right after, because it
Yeah.
was like one day I just woke up and was like, why are you doing this? And it was just like cold turkey, just
Yeah.
cut off the situation.
Earlier, I said there are three things that the Lord's speaking me to, and you've spoken to all of them: community, prayer,
Yeah.
and then am I listening to? Am I fear of God? Am I having a fear of God, or do I have a fear of men?
Yeah.
And out of that, what are my responses to
Yeah.
to life?
Yeah, for sure.
It's so
So,
good.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Seriously, I've enjoyed it. We've got to hang out more.
We do. We
You're probably like,
definitely
oh my
do. We
gosh, this
definitely
crazy
will.
girl.
No,
Yeah.
but listen, this is monumental. Brittany done got Rashawn to come on a podcast and talk. Like, what?
We'll have to do
So-
it again. This is so good. You've had so much like hard hitters today, so I
Yeah.
really appreciate
We'll do it
So
again.
good.
We'll see where we both are in a year.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
have
yeah.
a conversation again.
Yeah, we'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back. So good.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know you have, and we'll see you next time.